confident are you with gustar? Do you know the right conjugations, how to use it in different tenses, and which elements to include? In this lesson, we'll not only break down gustar into simple, actionable steps, but you'll also discover the key to mastering the different structures that affect gustar and similar verbs. From real-life examples to tips on avoiding common mistakes, you'll gain the confidence to use gustar and verbs like it effortlessly in everyday conversations. To master gustar, hay una regla clave que tienes que entender. Most Spanish sentences are going to be conjugated based on the subject. Let's use the following examples to see how this rule is being applied. Tú nos mandaste las fotos a Rocío y a mí. You are the subject, you are the person performing the action. Y el verbo refleja esta información. Podemos ver esta misma regla en el siguiente ejemplo. Yo siempre le presto mis cosas a Vanessa. Let's go back and look at example number 1 again. Este ejemplo tiene elementos clave. It has key elements that you are going to find in many Spanish sentences. Tiene un sujeto, un verbo o una acción y también tiene un objeto. Specifically, it has an indirect object. El objeto indirecto es la persona o cosa que afectamos o beneficiamos. In this case, Rocío and I were benefited because you sent us the pictures. Con estos ejemplos aprendimos that most Spanish sentences are conjugated based on the subject. Muchas veces tienen un sujeto, un verbo y un objeto, and like in English, most Spanish sentences start with the subject and end with the object. Tú nos mandaste las fotos a Rocío y a mí. Gustar funciona de forma muy similar a otros verbos del español. Believe it or not, gustar is very similar to other Spanish verbs. We're still conjugating based on the subject. Gustar también tiene un sujeto, un verbo y un objeto. So, if gustar is so similar to other Spanish verbs, why is it complicated? Por dos razones. La primera, con gustar, the subject is the thing or the activity causing the feeling. Think about it. We, the people, are not doing anything to perform the action. Instead, we are the object. We are being affected by this activity or thing. And how are we being affected? By experiencing the feeling. Número 2. This is what makes gustar and similar verbs really challenging. Con los verbos como gustar, vamos a iniciar la oración con el objeto indirecto y terminamos con el sujeto. Let me show you what I mean. Me gusta tu perro. I'm starting the sentence with the indirect object, the person experiencing the feeling. And I'm going to end with the subject, la cosa que causa el sentimiento. In this case, the thing causing the feeling is your dog. Tu perro es un sujeto singular, and I'm going to reflect that in the conjugation. Indirect object pronouns are a key element for gustar and similar verbs because these indirect object pronouns are going to help you express who is experiencing the feeling. Now that you know this key element, déjame mostrarte las 3 fórmulas que usamos con gustar y que también puedes usar con verbos similares. The first formula is going to be a singular formula. You are going to use this formula to refer to one thing that you like. ¿Te gusta el fútbol? No me gustó esa película. Check that in this case we're using a singular noun to refer to one thing. Con esta estructura, muchos estudiantes están acostumbrados. With this structure, many students are used to using el y la. This is perfectly fine, but in real-life conversations también usamos otros determinantes. Si no estás seguro de qué son los determinantes, I have a very short lesson where you can learn what they are and when to use them. La segunda fórmula también es una fórmula singular, but instead of using a singular noun, you are going to use an infinitive verb to refer to an activity. Les gusta aprender español. Y finalmente tenemos una fórmula plural. And as you can probably imagine, you are going to use the plural form to refer to multiple things that you like. A Elena no le gustaban los museos. Los museos are the thing that used to cause that feeling. Porque museos es un sujeto plural, la conjugación es plural. With this example, you can see that when you want to make a negative statement, you only need to make sure to put no before the pronoun. Este ejemplo tiene una estructura clave. It has a key structure that can be extremely confusing for students, but is key for Gustar, and I'm going to explain it to you later. But before I do that, I have two basic and one advanced tip that I want to share with you. Tip número 1. Gustar nunca trabaja con pronombres de sujeto. Tip número 2. You probably noticed in some of my past examples that I used gustar in different tenses. Hice esto para mostrarte que las fórmulas y reglas de conjugación aplican en diferentes tiempos verbales. Gustar is going to work and follow the same rules across different tenses. You only have to worry about conjugating in the right tense. Let me use an example to show you what this means. A Juan no le va a gustar esta canción. I'm using indirect object pronouns porque gustar no se lleva bien con los pronombres de sujeto. I'm using indirect object pronouns because gustar doesn't get along well with subject pronouns. Observa que este ejemplo está usando el futuro próximo. As a reminder, in Spanish, to build the near future, usamos ir en presente más a más infinitivo. Because we're talking about likes, my infinitive verb needs to be gustar. That means that I'm going to conjugate ir. And I'm still following the same rules. I'm going to conjugate based on the subject, the thing causing the feeling. ¿Cuál crees que es el sujeto en esta oración? What is causing the feeling? Muy bien, esta canción. Esta canción es un sujeto singular y la conjugación para el futuro próximo is going to be singular. A Juan no le va a gustar esta canción. Let me give you another example with another tense. A Juan le encanta este grupo, pero esta canción nunca le ha gustado. This is the present perfect. Y con este ejemplo te quiero dar el tip avanzado. So far, we've learned that with gustar sentences, we are going to start with the indirect object and we are going to end with the subject. A Juan le encanta este grupo. Pero en las conversaciones, cuando queremos enfatizar, when we want to emphasize, we are going to use the reverse order. We are going to start with the subject and end with the object. Let me show you the difference. A Juan le encanta este grupo, this is the regular order, pero esta canción nunca le ha gustado. I'm emphasizing over here. And I don't want to confuse you, but this is extremely common in daily life situations. Ahora quiero mostrarte la estructura clave con gustar que confunde a muchos estudiantes. Imagine that without context, I go and tell you, no le gustan los museos. You might be confused because this le refers to him, her, it, or even formal you. To avoid this confusion, I'm going to use this structure a plus a noun or a prepositional pronoun. Esta estructura te ayuda a enfatizar, clarificar o introducir who likes something. Check how clear things become when I use this structure. A Elena no le gustan los museos, pero a Beto y a mí nos encantan. Algo importante con esta estructura A is that you cannot use it with subject pronouns. It either works with a noun or with a prepositional pronoun. If you don't know what prepositional pronouns are, I have a very short lesson so you can learn what they are and when to use them. You can find the link to that lesson in the description of this video. Esta estructura con A is key because it's our foundation to express agreement and disagreement with verbs like gustar. Vamos a usar la misma estructura A más sustantivo o pronombre preposicional and we are going to add the keyword también. So based on this information, how will you say me too in Spanish when agreeing with gustar? A mí también. Let's put this into practice. ¿Te gusta correr en las mañanas? For the sake of this example, let's pretend that I like to run in the mornings too. A mí también. To express agreement for others, you only need to change the noun or pronoun. A Lola también. Check that in this case, our keyword is también, and you're using this keyword to express agreement with a positive statement. Do you know cuál es el opuesto de también? Muy bien, tampoco. Tampoco te ayuda a expresar acuerdo con una oración negativa. And you are going to use the same formula. So how will you say me neither in Spanish when agreeing with gustar and similar verbs? A mí tampoco. No le interesa la política. A ti tampoco, ¿verdad? This is the short answer, and there is nothing wrong with it. Pero déjame mostrarte cómo damos una respuesta más larga. A Lola tampoco le interesa la política. Observa que solo cambiamos el objeto indirecto. We're only changing the person who is experiencing the feeling. La conjugación es igual because I'm still using the same singular subject, la política. Aunque tú y yo somos muy buenos amigos, even though you and I are great friends, we're not going to be on the same page all the time. There are going to be things that you like and I'm not going to like. So how do we express disagreement in Spanish? Todavía vamos a usar nuestra estructura A, pero vamos a cambiar la palabra clave. And in this case, when expressing disagreement, our first keyword is no. No expresa desacuerdo con una oración positiva. I know, it sounds extremely confusing. Let me show you with an example. A él le gustan los gatos. Oy. A Juan y a Laura, no. What's the opposite of no? Sí. Sí expresa desacuerdo con una oración negativa. No le gustan estos chocolates. He doesn't like these chocolates. Is he crazy? We do. In this context, how do we say we do in Spanish? A nosotros, sí. Con la estructura A, you can probably imagine what the main ingredient is. Ah, that means that we cannot omit it, or otherwise the sentence is going to be incomplete. Understanding how Gustar works is key because there are many verbs that follow the same rules. Meet the affective verbs. Los verbos afectivos son verbos que te ayudan a expresar que una cosa o una actividad causa un sentimiento en ti. And we have many verbs that helps us express these feelings. Por ejemplo, aburrir, fascinar, caer bien y dar pena. Let me put these verbs into small paragraphs so you can check the conjugation. A Mauricio y a Elena les aburren los documentales, pero les da pena decirme porque a mí me fascina este tipo de contenido. Aunque todavía no conocemos mucho a Mauricio, a todos nos cae bien. Examples of other common affective verbs are doler, apretar, dar gusto, quedar, and dar risa. Let me put this into an example. A mi mamá le duelen los pies porque sus zapatos nuevos le aprietan. Me da mucha risa porque le cuesta trabajo ponérselos. A mi tía le va a dar mucho gusto porque a ella sí le van a quedar los zapatos. She just got a new pair of shoes and for free. Before we wrap up, I want to show you some common mistakes that can really hurt your fluency. Observa esta oración. Mí también me gusta leer. ¿Qué le falta? What is it missing? Muy bien, le falta la preposición a. The first mistake es omitir la preposición a when we're working with prepositional pronouns. We should have said, a mí también me gusta leer. El segundo error is using subject pronouns with verbs like gusta. We don't say, ella gustan las películas. No. In this case, we have two options. Si el contexto no está claro y necesitamos clarificar, we could say, a ella le gustan las películas. But if the context is clear, we could simply say, le gustan las películas. El tercer error se relaciona con los dos errores anteriores. Check this conversation. Me gusta leer. Yo también. What's wrong with this? Perfecto. Esta oración es incorrecta because we're using subject pronouns to agree or disagree with verbs like gustar. So what do you think the correct answer is? Muy bien, a mí también. ¿Me gusta leer? Ay, a mí también. Now that you know all this information about gustar, is this sentence correct or incorrect and why? Esta oración es correcta because I'm conjugating based on who causes the feeling, you. But me gustas expresa atracción física o romántica hacia alguien. Yes, if you say me gustas, you're saying that you like someone. Si eso no es lo que quieres decir, you should say me caes bien. So to put this into practice, I have a little challenge for you. Over here you have these incomplete sentences. Tu trabajo es muy fácil. Tienes que completarlas conjugando correctamente. Pon atención a los paréntesis because sometimes I'm going to ask you to conjugate in a specific tense. If I don't ask you anything, just conjugate in the present tense. Take your time and leave your answers in the comments so I can give you feedback if you need it. Sin duda alguna, without doubt, gustar es uno de los verbos más difíciles del español. That's why I've created a PDF with the notes from this lesson so you can check how and when to use it correctly. If you're interested in this PDF, go to the link in the description, enter your name and email so you can get it for free. A lot of mistakes with gustar come from choosing the incorrect pronoun. That's why in the description you are going to find lessons to prepositional pronouns, which are key for gustar, and also do a video on identifying indirect objects, which are also critical for verbs like gustar. También te voy a dejar lecciones adicionales a verbos que funcionan como gustar so you can increase your vocabulary and you can get extra practice. So that's it for today. Si te gustó el video, because it's just one, dale like y espero verte pronto otra vez. Adiós.